Hi everyone, I wanted to give you a quick overview of the Computer Science GCSE specification code J277. I want to start with an overview and then look at each of the two papers in turn and consider the command words that you're going to need to know. So in terms of overview, you will be taking two papers, paper 1 and paper 2, each worth 50% of the marks. Both papers last 1 hour 30 minutes and each exam is worth 80 marks, giving you a grand total of 1 minute per mark, give or take, or 1.125 if we're going to be precise. Both exams are non-calculator and all the questions are mandatory, so you need to make sure you do all of the questions in both papers. Let's look now at paper 1 in more detail. It tests the concepts in context. So the concept that you will have learnt in paper 1, and we can look at the list, and it's testing assessment objective 1 and 2. Well, what does that mean? If you look at the bottom there, assessment objective 1 is about the knowledge and the key concepts. So that's all the stuff we've been learning in class. And assessment objective 2 is that you can apply that knowledge in different contexts. So if you think back to the scenarios that OCR have dreamt up, you need to take that knowledge you've acquired in AO1 and apply it to a scenario in AO2. Paper 1 will consist of multiple choice questions, short questions, medium and long answer questions. There'll be one 8-mark question, and the rest will be made up of multiple choice, short and medium questions. And don't forget, they're also graded in terms of easy questions, medium difficulty questions and difficult questions. And the 8-mark question, the focus there is to develop a sustained line of reasoning. These are the topics. Obviously use the specification to cross-check your revision against these topics, but these are the topics that you will be assessed on in paper 1. I wanted to spend a moment just looking at command words so that you could make sure that you understand what they actually mean. I know that many of your subjects use these words, but it's worth taking a moment just to consider this. Analyze means break down in order to bring out the essential elements. Annotate is very straightforward, that just means adding brief notes, but I felt it was worth thinking about the word evaluate, and that's going to be a question of assessing implications and limitations. Good old-fashioned explain that makes its way into every exam you're ever going to do, but again, consider the fact that it's about giving a detailed account, including reasons or causes. And justify, which is the word used before usually a higher mark question, is one in which you will need to give valid reasons to support your answer. This list of exam words is on the specification just after the topic, so spend a bit of time making sure you're happy with what they all mean. So let's jump in and look at the overview of paper 2. It is testing your algorithmic and programming knowledge, and you can see on the bottom left there, that's the list of topics 2.1, 2.2. So that's the knowledge that you're supposed to have when you go into the exam. Now notice that paper 2 tests assessment objective 1, 2 and 3. So they can throw anything at you from the specification in paper 2, and it'll be in section A of paper 2 where they do that, but they can throw anything at you. So you need to be aware of that you're going to have to go to that AO3, which is the analyze problems in computational terms. That part down here, that's the addition in paper 2. Make reasoned judgments, design, program, evaluate and refine solutions. Notice in paper 2 there are short and medium questions. There's not going to be any longer response at 8 marks in paper 2. And paper 2 consists of two sections, section A and section B. Let's have a look at section A first of all. As you are aware, this exam carries 80 marks. They both do, they both carry 80 marks. Section A carries 50 of the 80 marks and section B carries 30, so it's weighted more towards section A. Section A will test your understanding of concepts in the same way that paper 1 did. And again, look down at the bottom left there and you can see the list of topics that you're going to need to know before you go into the exam. Equally, they're going to ask you to apply the understanding in a computational context, which means there'll be scenarios, and they'll be asking you to use your knowledge to mold your knowledge to be able to answer a question that's based within a certain context or scenario. And then of course you've also got this idea here of using an algorithmic approach. And so with that, think about your abstraction, decomposition, think about programming fundamentals and producing robust programs. So that kind of an approach to how you're going to solve problems. And don't forget to show you're working, because even if your answer's wrong, they'll try and give you marks for just showing you're working. Okay, so let's go into section A in a bit more detail in terms of how you're going to answer the questions. So this top part here, this is how you can expect OCR to voice their questions in section A. So they can ask you a question in flowcharts, in what they call natural English, or in pseudocode. Now that pseudocode is going to be the OCR exam reference language. It's the one that we use in the classroom. That's the one that we've used all the way through. And we know that pseudocode is not a high-level language. It's simply giving an indication of how it could be coded. Now there's no right or wrong way to do pseudocode, but actually you need to make sure that you understand the OCR exam reference language. So they can ask questions in any of those formats, for want of a better word. And you have choice in how you answer these questions. So you can answer these questions in pseudocode, flowchart, bullet points, natural English, or high-level code. High-level code, of course, being Python or Java or whatever high-level code you feel comfortable with. But you can equally write it in pseudocode. So you have some choice in how you actually answer that question. And you may feel more comfortable writing your answer, for example, as a flowchart than you will in pseudocode. So you will have that option when it comes to this part of section A. Now let's look at section B. It covers 30 of the 80 marks, so it's more weighted towards section A, but equally it still covers 30 of the 80 marks available for this paper, so just under half. Its purpose is to test your practical programming skills and whether you can design, write and test and refine programs. And again, thinking about that list of topics, they all sit quite nicely with this paper. You do need to understand the OCR exam reference language, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, just look on the specification after the list of topics and you can see the exam reference language. It will be familiar to you because that's the one we've always used. So in terms of answering questions, this is where OCR will demand that you answer in using a particular format. Now, for example, when it comes to being able to answer in pseudocode, you've got a choice of answering in pseudocode, which is ERL, that's the exam reference language, or using a high-level language like Python, for example. So you could make that choice, but they're going to specify the format of the answer, which is the point that I'm trying to make here. The way the question's voiced will tell you which format the answer will need to be in. And so they can demand that your answer is going to be in any of the formats that you can see on the right-hand side here. They could ask you to do it in pseudocode, flowcharts, high-level language, or pseudocode, natural English, trace table, or a test plan. But bear in mind, it is in section B of paper 2 where they're going to get you to write something in code, and that is a guarantee. You'll be able to use a flowchart to answer it in section A, but in section B, they're going to get you to write in pseudocode. So I hope that's useful. That gives you an overview of everything you can expect in the J277 paper, part 1 and part 2. I strongly recommend, if you haven't done so already, download the specification, have a good look through it, and I hope that's helpful. Bye-bye.